grading, all that.
the grading, et cetera, big plans.
Yeah, just,
I have no plans. No one
And,
does.
you know, yeah.
I mean, I'd like it to happen, but it's
Everybody
not.
wants it to happen, and everybody thinks it should happen, but it's also like, you're kind of over, that would be an additional good, but why forego the overall
good project, it's still back.
Sometimes perfect is the enemy of good.
John, thoughts?
No, I mean, I think we've covered everything. The important one, I think, is also getting the lighting, the balance right. I know if it was my neighborhood, I wouldn't want it looking like a Marathon gas station.
No, I
As I
wouldn't
looked
either.
out my kitchen window.
I want Meyer Park.
Old
lights.
style gas lights.
Yeah, like more ornamental. Andy, can you review these stipulations?
I think so. The conditions of approval that we had proposed were as follows. So first, prior to the issuance of any city permits, the applicant shall have paid all application permit, reimbursable escrow, and other fees. Two, they shall comply with any requirements from the fire department, Department of Public Works, city engineer, MDOT, or other approving agencies. C, they shall continually comply with all applicable ordinances, codes, and requirements of the city of Lowell. 4, exterior lighting shall comply with section 4.24 of the zoning ordinance. And then to that one, I think we can just add a sentence that says the applicant shall provide a lighting plan for staff review and approval prior to construction. If that sounds good to you.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Condition 5, landscaping buffers and or green belts shall be continuously maintained to ensure that the proposed uses will be adequately buffered from one another and from surrounding public and private property. Item 6, if required, a Part 31 permit shall be obtained and submitted to the city prior to the commencement of development activity on the property.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I would entertain a motion to, with these 6 conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Do I have support?
Support?
Any more discussion? Sue, roll call, or not roll call, voice vote?
Roll call.
Commissioner
Roll call vote?
Cadwalder,
Yes.
Commissioner Holst,
Yes.
Commissioner Plank,
Yes.
Commissioner Gadula,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett,
Yes.
and Chair Ellis.
Yes. Congratulations. Next, we have old business. The draft of the master plan review, which we've been working on for quite some time. And Andy, would you kind of give us a summary of what we have in front of us?
Yes, absolutely. So what you have in front of you is, and I wish we could get on screen, but unfortunately technology is not cooperating this evening. But what we provided in your packet is a complete cover initial draft of the master plan. It is a fairly lengthy document with at 80 some odd pages. So we have a bit to go in terms of process to get to a point where there's a final adoption. And I know this is a lot of reading to give to you the week before a meeting and ask you to do anything with it. So what I am thinking is that tonight I'll just sort of provide an overview of how this is put together and how it's structured and what's in it based on our conversations. And then my thinking is that you guys should take them on, review it, read the entire thing, you know, email me comments, questions, edits, whatever, and then we can make any final adjustments. And then at our meeting in October, we can look at making a recommendation to City Council for reviewing and distributing the draft. So there's like 3-4 months of like procedural stuff we have to do for the act. So this is all very preliminary. So the plan is broken up into 8 chapters. The first chapter is just an introductory chapter that just sort of explains what a plan is and why it's important and things like that. What our statutory basis is for drafting it. Chapter 2 is called Our People. That chapter describes Lowell's citizens, basically. So we're looking at population change, we're looking at age composition, income, employment, all these sort of statistical information about the people who live in the city of Lowell. We also have in that chapter information about housing. We did some population projections to look at what our anticipated population is going to be in 10, 20, 30 years here. So that's kind of what is in chapter 2. Chapter 3 is called Our Environment. So that looks at the city's geography, its hydrology, watersheds, wetlands, floodplains. We have a map of the flood hazard zones. We have some discussion in there of the wildlife protection areas that are within the city. There's some information and maps about the types of soils that are found in the city. Land use and land cover information is all discussed in that chapter as well. Chapter 4 is titled Our Community. That chapter focuses primarily on city services and infrastructure. So here we're looking at water, sewer, low light power, your street network, your street improvements, traffic counts, police, fire, airport, waste collection, the library, the museum. All of those sorts of community facilities are sort of reviewed and inventoried and discussed in that chapter. Chapter 5 is public engagement. So chapter 5 is kind of the midpoint of the plan as I see it. So those first 4 chapters sort of give you a snapshot in time of the conditions of Lowell today or over the last couple of years as we've been collecting this information. And then in chapter 5, we kind of summarize all of the work that we did and that you did to hear from the public, right? So if you recall, throughout this process, we did a whole bunch of things to get input from the community. We had an online community survey. We had 2 pop-up planning events. One was last year at one of the concerts, and then we did one this spring at the expo. In December of last year, of 23, we went to Lowell Middle School and did some engagement with students to ask their opinions about the future of the community and what they would want to see. And then we did a series of 4 stakeholder visioning meetings where we asked a bunch of questions of the Planning Commission, the City Council, the DDA, and the Parks Board, where we got their information about the future of Lowell. We kind of walked through an hour and a half long visioning session with each of those groups. Some of you should remember that. So all of that information is all sort of what gave us all the community data that we needed to figure out which community wants to go from here, how we want the plan to be put together, what's important, what do we need to focus on, and things like that. So all of that is summarized in chapter 5. Chapter 6 should look more familiar to you, so more recently we walked through the last 3 sections of the plan. Chapter 6 is titled Goals and Objectives. So that's where, if you recall, we worked with you on drafting that vision statement, and then we have a series of goal and objective statements relating to growth and development, the community image, land use, transportation, housing, community services. There's a bunch of different topic areas in there. Each of those topic areas, there's 1 or more goal statements with then a series of objectives, and if you complete the objectives, then you will have completed the goal. That's kind of the thinking there. So that's outlined in chapter 6. Chapter 7 is the future land use plan. You should remember that too. We looked at the map that has, it looks kind of like a zoning map, but we have a variety of land use designations on there that range from suburban residential, traditional residential, high density, manufactured housing, corridor mixed use, and some others. So that's kind of a map of the long-term land use plan for the community. So when we're looking at a rezoning request or a special land use request or a PUD or something like that, we're looking at the land use that is proposed in relation to how and if it fits within the future land use map and the future land use plan. In addition to the map, the future land use chapter has 1 page sort of designated to each of those designations that describe what it should look like and how it should feel in terms of density, what the character of these neighborhoods is going to be like, what your compatible zoning districts are. So somebody is in the suburban residential future land use category, what would be an appropriate zoning district they could rezone to potentially. So if and when that question comes up, and it will at some point in time for some property, we can look and say, okay, is that compatible with the master plan? And we'll have a pretty easy guide here to help us make that determination. So we have one of those pages sort of set aside for every future land use designation. That's chapter 7. And then chapter 8, the last chapter, is the one that we looked at last month, which was the implementation plan. So that plan is sort of a list of things that the city needs to do to put the plan into action, to bring it to life, to fulfill the goals, right? So that's where we talk about river activation, zoning ordinance revisions, implementing the place plan from 2018, the housing strategies, working on non-motorized trails, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all in there, and that's kind of the entire plan. So there's a lot there, and so I think that, again, the goal for the planning commission should be to take a month, review, digest, send the edits, and we can talk next month.
So it looks like these
Plan.
packets, and I print this out myself, so I don't know if it's in the PDF, but these stop at like page 87. So we don't have the whole print out anymore. If they're in the PDF, it's fine, but. Or maybe I don't.
So the whole plan is 87 pages.
Okay.
So I might just need to redo the table of contents. I don't know why that.
That says 130.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it says that, so we can fix that. That's easy.
Okay.
We get it's like hat.
Yeah,
Shrunken
I would
hat.
rather have to go that way.
yeah.
Oh.
So you, just to summarize, you want us to read it over, see if there's any editorial or things we want to add?
Yeah, and so,
Email you?
yes, yep, email me with any changes, and think beyond just like, if you see a typo, obviously that's helpful and that's fine, but think bigger than that too. So if you think there's something that we didn't address adequately, or that isn't discussed thoroughly enough, or some topic area that we think needs more attention, like that's what I really want to know. So yeah, I'll encourage each of you to take some time over the next month, read through it, and then send me your edits. We can make any necessary changes before the next meeting and get you a new draft. And then if you're comfortable with it at that point, we can begin that adoption process in October. That's not going to complete until like February or something, because that's just how the statute makes us do it. But it gives us some time to go through everything, consider it all very carefully, make sure that we've covered everything that needs to be covered in here.
Okay. Any other questions about our next month reading?
Homework.
Yeah, homework, yeah.
Yeah. Sir, yes.
Just want to comment on a public agenda item here, or for the master plan. So Tyler Kent, 280 Jane Ellen. Just want to start by saying, I appreciate the work that went into this. I know it's a lot of time into it, and I review a lot of master plans as part of my job. This is a really good one. Really formatted quite well. So start with a comment. One thing to please consider with this master plan, as it is a plan for all different types of users of the system for transportation, is a lot of the larger road and street needs were removed from the previous plan. I'd like to see some more information, at least, I'm willing to offer my services free of charge, just on looking at ways of not precluding or limiting future improvements on some of our major thoroughfares, especially as our community grows. That pressure will probably be even more pronounced on Hudson Street, Old Nash, whatever the name is, as some of the proposed land use and businesses start occurring in the township. So it's important to me as a commuter. Not all of us live and or work in the community, so we do drive, and we're not here to be mean people. We're here because we're trying to be productive members of society. So I hope that will be considered as part of this plan. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, Eric Marcus, 215 West Main. I just would like to make a note that we recently, city staff, visited Middleville, the village, and the highlight of that village is their pavilion right in the downtown. I don't know if anyone has been to Middleville lately, but they have a fantastic brick large pavilion. It's probably larger, twice the size of our Creekside pavilion, that gets used very often with banquets, luncheons, weddings, that sort of thing, and it's the focal point of their city. And I asked them, how did you do this? And the first thing they said was it was an idea in their master plan. And I thought about that a little more, so I looked up REIT master plans, and I found out that the Navy Pier in Chicago started as an item on their master plan. So I just encourage you to, as Amy said, think big with the master plans. Thank you.
Okay.
No pressure.
Staff report. Sue?
I have nothing further.
I do have one, I guess, thought. So as we've been going through this exercise, we've been thinking a lot about housing, ways that the city can, enable additional housing types within its boundaries. So as we're sort of looking at the master plan, one of the things that I would suggest, if it's okay with you, is maybe we can look at some strategies through zoning that we can do to, in the short term, enable some of these housing objectives that you're looking at in the city. So if that's okay with you, we can work on some of those things for the next meeting, come up with maybe some suggestions. We went through this a little bit several years ago when we looked at the whole zoning ordinance. It could be anything from setbacks to minimum house sizes to procedural things, but we've been, as we think about implementing some of this stuff, it's helpful, I think, for us to do kind of a housing focused look at things and making sure that we don't have any impediments in zoning that might be unnecessarily encumbering attainable or affordably sized or priced housing units. So if it's okay with you guys, we'll take a look at that for the next meeting as well. We can provide something in writing to kind of show what we think, and then kind of go from there in terms of suggestions, and if that sounds good to you.
Sounds good. Okay. Commissioners' remarks.
When they gonna open up Riverside Road?
I don't know. I don't even know what's going on. Where's Mike?
I know. I was thinking, I don't think the pylons are filled with anything. We could probably.
We just take them. Colin?
Nope, okay.
Cool.
Nothing.
Joe?
Nothing to add.
I always have different ideas, but I don't know if any of the staff can address what are they going to do with the old fairgrounds? Any ideas coming up with that?
So there was a master plan adopted for the fairgrounds property a few years ago by the city. So there's a whole plan for different recreation, park uses on that property. That was put together a few years ago.
Any camping?
Yes, that is included on the plan.
That makes me happy.
All right.
Because I'm like, this is the perfect resource for bringing people into the city.
Yep. Yeah. So then, if I remember correctly, then kind of the northern-ish part of that property, there is a small kind of campground area.
I've seen some campers
on that plan.
And the fire station.
Yep. And there's a bunch of other stuff too, and then obviously the southern part of it is left more open. But there's some camp trails and fishing piers and all kinds of stuff. And part of that is you have to leave certain areas open for canoeing and all that. But yeah, that is on the plan, and there is a plan in place for that. But not to hijack your comment, one thing that I did not remember to remind you of, but in a couple of weeks, is for those of you who might want any training opportunities, the Michigan Association of Planning Annual Conference is in Grand Rapids on September 25th through the 27th at the Amway Grand Hotel downtown. We will be there. We'll have a booth. We're going to have a hospitality suite party thing. So if you want to come and hang out and eat tacos and stuff on Thursday night, you should sign up and come down and see us. And you can learn lots of things throughout the day as well. So
Can you send us emails or information about that?
yes,
Thank you.
that's all I got.
Okay, very good. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
I will support that.
Support.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same. Oh, good. Stand adjourned.